Hello folks, I'm here today at the UK launch of the KGM ACTYON, which is this bad boy. It's a compact premium mid-size SUV, C+ class, I believe they call it. It's going to be available for 37,995. It's only coming in one trim, which is literally every option from the factory piled onto it. And unusually in 2025, this is going to be a 1.5 litre petrol only. There's no hybrid technology, there's no plug-in variant, there's no electrified variant, certainly at the time we're talking today. This puts out 161 brake horsepower. It's mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission with paddle shifters. You can tow 1.5 tons with this, and it's got a ginormous boot and quite a premium interior. So let's take a closer look. Here is that aforementioned impressive boot space, and it's one of the areas where it excels a little bit over the Sportage actually, because it's got more space, and it's just such a great wide opening to get things in and out of with complete ease. There's pretty much no load lip. You have got a bit of underfloor storage there, but it's the sheer size that wins the day here. Ultimately practical and massively useful. Okay, so stepping into the front cabin, and everything's really quite premium, much more premium than you would expect from a car at this price point, especially when you look at some of the rivals it competes with. You've got 12.3 inch infotainment system and a 12.3 inch driver information display. The infotainment system's got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as standard. You also get a TomTom based sat-nav system, and the downside with it is pretty much everything's screen controlled. So things like your aircon, etc. are all based on the screen. It does have all the driver assistance functions and safety things that you would expect these days, and a few more besides. If you don't like them, it's actually quite easy to disable them in this car. You just swipe down from the top screen and you can turn them off with ease, which is quite nice. Down here you've got 2 USB-Cs. We've got a wireless charging pad here, a couple of cup holders, nice big space underneath that central platform as well. Central platform, central console, I don't know. We've got a decent sized cubby in there, and instead of like boring piano black that's just a complete fingerprint magnet and doesn't age particularly well, we've got this sort of carbon fibre effect which looks and feels all a bit lovely. Nice materials on here as well. It feels like sort of slightly rubberized, but it's cool. And then we've got some wood along the top here. I really like the design and the fit and finish, I must say. Now the steering wheel is massive and it's all a bit squared off. You will find a nice big star button here which is customizable, and that means that even though some of the things you might want to go to without messing about with the screen are screen based, you can set that to bring everything up for you. So you can have that set to display the aircon controls, or you can have it to always go into Apple CarPlay. So that's pretty nice. You've got heated steering wheel, driving mode button, everything you want sort of at your fingertips or stroke thumb tips are there. The wheel itself is quite comfortable under the hand, and it's nice and wide, and that means you don't get a blocked view of the driver information display. So many cars now have this lovely digital display and you can't read any of it because the steering wheel's that big. That's not a problem in this one. I haven't had chance today to take a deep dive into the infotainment system. First glance, it looks similar to the one we saw in the Torres, but perhaps a tiny bit more responsive. But that would have to be saved for a future review where I really get to spend a bit more time with the car. In the back, it's really spacious. We've got loads of leg room. I'm about 5'9" and a bit, and this is my normal driving position, and we've got probably 5 or 6 inches of leg room and a good 4 or 5 inches of headroom. You've got this lovely material up here. Again, it's that sort of suede Alcantara kind of stuff, and a rear blind, which I'm gonna wrestle with, and I will win. There we go. Not the easiest thing, but life's like that. Central armrest with a couple of cup holders. Down here we've got a couple of vents and 2 USB-C sockets, and also some seat back storage and a little pouch to put your mobile phone in. There is a tiny bit of a transmission hump, but you would still get 3 adults in here in relative comfort on a long journey. This is really quite a nice thing, a bit of a triumph, I have to say. And the passenger seat can be moved with a button on the side. So if you don't have anyone in the front but someone's in the back and they need a bit more leg room, they can easily move that out of the way. Really nice cabin, really nicely executed. That camera is not standard in here, by the way. We're using it for filming today. So once you get behind the wheel of this new Action, it's all fairly positive, with a couple of things that are perhaps not quite so great. Let's start with the not quite so greats. The fuel consumption number is a less than stellar 33 mpg WLTP, and that's largely due to the fact that this is a 1.5 litre turbo petrol engine with no hybrid technology going on, and it's being asked to pull what is quite a big heavy car. Despite that fact, in normal driving you've got all the power you need and it's generally sort of where you need it. But if you're going to do an overtake manoeuvre or something, you do have to work the engine reasonably hard. But you do have paddle shifters that will help you out with that. The suspension and the ride are generally very good, but not perfect. So you will find it a tiny bit crashy on some of the roughest surfaces, but 9 times out of 10 for most driving, it feels completely fine and really quite comfortable. The whole drive of the thing feels like it's really come a long way since the Torres. I drove an early version of the petrol Torres and the EVX, the EV version of the Torres, and neither of them impressed me massively, I have to say. The car felt slightly skittish on the road, lots of minor adjustments required just to keep it in a straight line, and none of that is the case with this one. And I think the fact that this is only a couple of grand more than the Torres, it puts a really good argument forward for itself to go for this over the Torres. And certainly when you look at some of the competition for the car, we've already mentioned a natural competitor to this being the Kia Sportage, massively popular car, really good car. I think this makes a really good case for itself against it. It's got a premium feel to the interior, it's really well equipped, and most people will find that the whole drive of it absolutely more than good enough. It's just that fuel economy figure's not fantastic, is it? I think as a first sort of ground up KGM car, previously, as I said earlier in the video, the KGM vehicles have been Ssangyong vehicles primarily. I think this is a really positive step and a good sort of foot forward. I'd love to see an electric version of it, because obviously you wouldn't then have to worry about those fuel consumption figures, and of course you'd have a bit more power on tap, one would hope. And it does seem to be a car that would probably do quite well as an EV. But right now, at the moment, because of maybe a bit of a loophole in the ZEV mandate, for manufacturers that only sell a fairly limited number of vehicles, they don't really have to worry about the ZEV mandate too much. So it could well be that KGM decides to stay out of the mainstream to avoid everything that's going on there, and some of the problems that some of the large manufacturers are facing. A bit of a shame if that's the case, because I feel like this is a really good platform and they could do very, very well with it. So I think it's fairly well priced, it's very generously equipped, and certainly an EV variant of this would be tempting. At these launch events, folks, you sometimes get partnered up with someone because they have lots of people at them and not too many cars. And I partnered up with Alex today, and if you have never watched it, I do the Charging Status podcast with Alex. That's an EV focused podcast. We're not in an EV, we're in a petrol car, but just thought we'd have a little bit of a chat about both our thoughts, really. You've obviously heard mine in this video already, but what do you think, Alex? Would you agree with most of it, or do you think I'm a nutter? Or
well, you're a nutter, so
thanks.
No, from what you said earlier, it's a really nice cabin. There's lots of interesting materials going on. So you got There's some cars are just really grey and just very dark and bland. This has got a lot of nice things. This steering wheel is really nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to hold.
No piano black either, and you know how much that triggers me.
Oh, it's annoying.
Yeah.
I quite liked that the USB ports are really high powered. So
Yep.
if you want to charge your laptop on the go, that's quite nice. It's got some different materials. This car was going to be available with a like a camel, I think they called it.
Yeah.
But they're not going to bring that to the UK. I gather probably 4 people would buy it. So
Yeah, there was, I think a lot of the initial press release stuff for this showed an orange one as well, and they've sort of said, do you know what, no one's going to choose that orange in the UK, so we're not going to have it as an option.
yeah, maybe one person. So
But it's quite interesting, like how much input into this the UK team have had, because I mean,
Yeah.
the UK business is very small, and KGM is a massive conglomerate. I mean, they've got
I was surprised to see they do food. They do beverages and stuff.
they've got God, what is it? They own a load of KFC franchises in Korea, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, and
Interesting.
they're really big in the steel industry, and they're in basically 10 different industries in quite a big way. So they're a huge beast, but they are listening to the UK team for the UK spec of the vehicle, and I don't think every company does that, every manufacturer does that, so that's all quite nice.
yeah.
And it feels like, you know, Ssangyong had some decent vehicles, but it feels like they are sort of looking to move things along a little bit, doesn't it? Although they still want to remain quite small. So, I don't know, we might see some more interesting stuff from KGM in months to come. Who knows? I'm just reversing in someone's drive here, so... But I think it's good to see that the manufacturer is listening to the UK team for what is going to be the UK car, and you know, it may be that they've made some of the adjustments to the ride and stuff to suit our roads, because that would make a great deal of sense, and lots of manufacturers don't do that quite clearly. You know, they have a car that's developed completely for their home market, and they don't sort of look outside it.
Yeah.
And sometimes things you don't get as standard spec in this country that we just expect, which in other markets are always an option. But I think they've played this one fairly cleverly. I think they're only forecasted to sell about 500 of them, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a little bit unambitious. And I think KGM still isn't a mainstream brand. Like even when it was Ssangyong, I don't think it was. It's more of a niche thing. And they do the thing that does really well for them is a Musso. Maybe just passed a Musso there a minute ago.
Yeah. That's behind us now, actually.
Oh. And you see Mussos everywhere. If you sort of
That's brilliant. That's honestly, I think probably my favourite pickup truck, the Musso.
it's really well priced.
For the ones I've driven, there are one or two that I haven't, but I've driven quite a lot of them, and yeah, I really like it. I think it's a decent piece of kit.
It is good. Yeah.
Anyway, we just thought we'd have a random chat as we're both together, rather than sitting in the back while the other one films. Thought we'd have a random chat for you. Go and follow Alex. Alex, tell everyone where you are.
So I've got a car review channel called The Interface Cars. So it's at The Interface Cars on YouTube. There's various reviews on there.
And of course, the Charging Status EV Podcast YouTube channel, which we've got, what, 60 something
I think 73 as of today.
73 subscribers, wow. Finally, success. So there you go, you could be number 74. So head on over to that. God blimey. So what do you think of the KGM Action, folks? Is it enough to make you go away from something like the Kia Sportage? Or is it not quite there yet? The choice at the end of the day is ultimately yours. If you'd like to perhaps look at leasing one of these, there's a link in the video description that will take you straight to all the latest lease deals that are available for them. But at £38,000 and quite a striking looking vehicle, I think it's a bold step forward from KGM, certainly over some of the cars we saw from the Ssangyong brand in the past. Let us know your thoughts. Please give the video a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. And please come back for more. I'll see you on the next one. Huge thanks to all my channel members for your continued support. I really do appreciate it.